Going in our Wayback machine to stardate 199401.31, known to us today as January 31st, 1994, the debut Star Trek The Next Generation, sub ROSA. When Star Trek The Next Generation first debuted, many of us who were devoted fans of the original series and a lot of the accompanying literature, novels, books about the production, etc., immediately recognized that Gene Roddenberry was using it as an opportunity to explore characters he felt had been previously unexplored. That's to say, a lot of the characters that appear on Star Trek The Next Generation are clearly derivative of Roddenberry's own previous work. You can hardly miss that the Riker-Deanna relationship is almost identical to the Decker-Ilia relationship. Deanna's even described as an empath. We had the stern and stoic, much more than James T. Kirk, original Captain Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter, that is now Pike Picard, a French version of Captain Pike. Even number one, the original, played by Majel Barrett, who's described in the pilot as being computer-like, though it is never explored because those characters are left behind. The accompanying literature suggests that she is either from a colony where the humans are genetically engineered or cybernetically enhanced internally, not visible to the naked eye, to make them a fusion of machine and man. Mr. Data, then, being fully a cybernetic organism, but an organism considered to be a sentient life form, he is both a play on Mr. Spock wanting to be logical versus Data wanting to be human, but also on those missed characteristics that were never explored in number one. Even the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, overzealous ensigns of the original pilot, we have Geordi LaForge is that at the beginning. So is Wesley Crusher, though not in ensign quite yet at the very beginning. All of these characters have this interesting formula to them. But that's a whole long discussion for another time. But the key is, for today's episode, because Dr. Beverly Crusher was immediately recognizable to me as, well, if Captain Picard is Captain Pike, but is also a fusion of something else, when we did see Captain Robert April in the cartoon and then the follow-up novels, they featured heavily his wife, Sarah, who was his chief medical officer originally on the Enterprise. As soon as we met Dr. Crusher, we got this background story of her husband passing away, being good friends with Jean-Luc Picard, and it was clearly indicated there was something potentially there, potentially even Picard focused more as a budding sort of father figure that gets over his negativity about that because of Wesley, which honestly I think would have been really dorky, not just because Will Wheaton's terrible and tacky in every way, but I'm glad they didn't explore that particular, the way they went with it worked much better. But I immediately recognized that there was a Robert and Sarah April dynamic potentially going on. And in an ensemble cast like that, it took a long time before they really gave Dr. Crusher enough screen time and character development to really get anywhere. And I know there are some fans that didn't like her. They replaced her for a season with Dr. Pulaski. People liked her better. I had no strong feelings about Pulaski, but I always felt like they needed to bring Crusher back and just write the character better, give her better stories, pursue it more. And ultimately, we got to see her as a bridge officer, fighting the Borg. We got to see her in the future being a captain of a medical ship, granted, because of her professional history and her service record, but nevertheless being a captain of a starship in combat situations. I just thought the growth over time, and when they finally got to it, like some episodes where they were linked telepathically by the machine on that one planet, exploring finally that past relationship, how it was going to translate into the present and what it might mean going forward. Unfortunately for Dr. Crusher, despite finally getting all the character development and all of the screen time and as much as you could get in an ensemble cast like this where everybody wanted to see another Klingon or Borg episode, Unfortunately for her, Dr. Crusher recently has become a meme online the last couple of years because of the episode Sub Rosa and her erotic relationship with a space ghost, which is actually an anaphasic life form. There's also a lot of kind of almost universal hatred for this episode out there. I really like this episode. I felt like it should have aired around Halloween because it felt like a Halloween episode when her dead grandmother, dead Nana, wakes up out of the grave because the thing is in her using her deceased body. And it's all relatively creepy. It's creepy enough being that it's a planet, a colony world, intentionally chosen because it looks like medieval or mythological Scotland. And even aliens are living there in a Scottish sort of medieval, late medieval, early modern sort of lifestyle. But I really like the episode because it does focus on a colony world where there has been an intentional desire to recreate, and it's not like a theme park, to recreate for its innate value a time period of history on Earth, some Federation history, so to speak, to recreate it because living that way has value. It's not a theme park. It's not a historical oddity. There are colonies devoted to different types of ways of life. This is part of the exploration of the human condition in Star Trek. And I thought it was really cool to find a planet where they were living one of these very specific sort of, and of course, having our anaphasic life form turn out to be, so the ghost is actually real. It's an anaphasic life form that had been parasitically draining off of her ancestors, but in a weird symbiosis, it kind of gives back, and it doesn't really kill. I mean, it kind of does over a very long time, but it can kill when challenged. So Dr. Crusher gets this great episode where she's manipulated by the space ghost, and that becomes what she's remembered for, at least the memes of the last few years. But I really felt like it was an episode that gave Gates McFadden this opportunity to shine as an actress. She didn't get a lot of screen time. She didn't get a lot of time to do that. And as she's being driven literally crazy by this thing, pushing her into this obsessive, compulsive, sort of tyrannized, abusive relationship, hard to describe, the psychological control, which is both using its energy and its manipulation. She really does such a fabulous job of this. And of course, coming to grips with it and being able to confront it herself at the end, instead of just being rescued, really highlights the abilities of her character, and again, builds her up as someone who has been in command of the ship, who can be, on the off shift. She's got the potential to do that. She did fine against the Borg. She can handle herself, not in the sort of modern woke, I don't need anybody else, I am inherently perfect sense, but in the sense of being a strong character as part of the team, that when they come to save her and are disabled, she's able to come out of it and take the next steps to stop the creature and save herself. It also is really fun to see Duncan Regier, I may say that wrong, Duncan Regier as the Space Ghost, because he was Charles in V, the TV series, when it went to TV. He'd been in a lot of stuff over the years, but he always had that slightly British accent, that sort of British charm. He's perfect for this role, and he's perfect for it being medieval Scotland. He's perfect to be the Space Ghost. And so it really highlights that it's an overall quality episode. And I really like it. It does not deserve the hate that it gets. I think it's perfectly wonderful. One of the good episodes. Those later seasons of TNG are some of the best TV ever made. And I don't know, I'd put it in the top 10 of all of them, but it's definitely a good episode. It is not anywhere near the bottom, in my humble opinion. So that's my view on it. Sub Rosa, which is Latin, by the way, under the rose. It's an old expression for secrecy. It's the family secret being uncovered with the candle in the Space Ghost. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Peace and long life.